The Lagos evening was thick with the scent of suya smoke and exhaust fumes, a familiar embrace as I navigated the usual gridlock on Admiralty Way. My phone buzzed Amaka. "Babe, almost there?" Her voice, sweet like mangoes, cut through the noise of honking danfos and blaring car radios. "Just turning into Lekki Phase 1 now," I replied, a smile already forming. 2 years with Amaka, and every day felt like unwrapping a new gift. She was a fashion designer, her studio in Yaba, a kaleidoscope of vibrant Ankara fabrics and dreams. I worked in tech, my world of code a stark contrast to her vibrant canvas, but somehow we just fit. Tonight, we were meeting Chidi, her childhood best friend, for the first time. He would just return from Abuja, a sprawling city of its own. Amaka had warned me Chidi was a bit unfiltered. "He means well, Tunde, just his way," she would say, a slight shrug. We met at a new restaurant, all sleek glass and soft lighting, a welcome escape from the Lagos chaos. The air conditioning hummed, a pleasant relief. Chidi was boisterous, his laughter echoing a little too loudly across the table. We talked about everything: politics, football, Amaka's latest collection, even the perennial issue of epileptic power supply. Then Amaka excused herself to take a call by the restroom. The moment she stepped away, the energy at the table shifted. Chidi leaned in, his smile dropping slightly, replaced by a knowing look. "So, you know Amaka used to date Segun, right? Before you, I mean. Guy had a whole thing for her, chai, big wahala when they broke up." The words hung in the air, sudden and sharp, like a discordant note in a beautiful melody. I felt a weird chill. It was an odd thing to say, especially to me, alone, on our first meeting. My mind raced, searching for an appropriate response. I forced a laugh, a tight, artificial sound. "Yeah," she mentioned him briefly. My jaw tightened, a muscle throbbing. He just stared, a faint, almost challenging glint in his eyes. Big guy Segun was, very possessive. Amaka was lucky to get out of that one. My stomach churned. What was he trying to do? The comfort of the evening evaporated like morning dew under the Lagos sun. I tried to change the subject, to talk about his return from Abuja, but his eyes kept darting to Amaka, who was still on her call. It felt like a deliberate act, a subtle marking of territory. That night, back in my apartment overlooking the bustling Lagos Lagoon, I told Amaka. Her brow furrowed. "Chidi said that. Almo, I told you he is like that. He does not mean any harm, I beg. He is just a bit blunt." She waved it off almost too easily. But it was not just bluntness. It felt pointed, a deliberate poke. A week later, we were at a friend's birthday gathering in Victoria Island. The air buzzed with laughter, the smell of jollof rice and roasted plantain thick in the humid night. Amaka was showing off a new design to some friends, her enthusiasm infectious. I was chatting with a colleague when Chidi appeared, a bottle of Star Lager in hand. He clapped me on the shoulder, a little too hard, making me wince slightly. "Tunde, my man, good to see you." His eyes scanned the room, then landed on Amaka's group. You know, Amaka once designed a whole outfit for Segun for his big brother's wedding. She put so much effort into it. Very loyal Amaka is. My smile froze, my stomach clenching. It was not even a story about Amaka and him, but about Amaka and Segun. Again, the ex. The conversation around us died down for a second, a noticeable dip in the lively atmosphere. I felt a prickle of embarrassment, like a spotlight had been shone on my vulnerabilities. "Chidi, that was years ago," I said, trying to keep my voice light, an edge I could not quite hide. He just shrugged, took a long swig of his beer, his gaze holding mine. "Just saying, she is a good woman. Loyalty like that is hard to find." The message was clear, or at least it felt clear to me. He knew her better, he knew her past, and he was not letting me forget it. This time, the knot in my stomach was tighter, a dull ache. It was not a one-off. It was a pattern. When Amaka joined me later, her face glowing from the compliments, I tried to bring it up again. "Babe, Chidi brought up Segun again, at the party." She sighed, a little exasperated, her glow dimming. Tunde, you are reading too much into it. He is just telling old stories. You know how friends are, they catch gist. I knew how friends were. My friends did not casually drop names of my exes into conversations with my current girlfriend, especially not repeatedly and with that particular tone. It felt like he was constantly staking a claim, reminding me there was a history I was not part of, a history he owned. I began to dread seeing him. Every social gathering became a minefield. I would find myself scanning the room for him, bracing for the next subtle jab, the next uncomfortable anecdote. It started affecting my mood, making me irritable, withdrawn. Amaka noticed. "What is wrong? You have been so quiet lately, Tunde," she would ask, her concern genuine. How could I explain that her best friend's seemingly innocent remarks were slowly eroding my confidence and making me feel like a second choice? One afternoon, after a particularly draining week at work, I found myself stuck in traffic on the third mainland bridge, looking at the expanse of the lagoon. The stress was boiling over, my head throbbing from the incessant honking. Was I being paranoid? Was I insecure? Or was Chidi truly trying to get under my skin? I could not shake the feeling that he was testing me, challenging my place in Amaka's life. And Amaka, bless her heart, was blind to it, perhaps unwilling to see the malice in her oldest friend. The breaking point came at Bola's housewarming party in Ikeja GRA. DRA. The house was packed, music blasting a popular Afrobeats track, the aroma of grilled fish and pepper soup filling the humid air. Generators hummed faintly in the distance, a constant Lagos symphony. Amaka was vibrant in a bright blue Ankara dress, her laughter infectious as she chatted with her cousins and friends. I felt a warmth seeing her so happy and relaxed. Chidi was there, of course, holding court near the drinks table, a half-empty bottle of Gulder in his hand. I tried to avoid him, maneuvering through the dancing bodies, but he spotted me. "Tund, come, join us," he called, his voice carrying over the music, waving me over with a flourish. I walked towards them, trying to project the confidence I did not quite feel, my internal alarm bells ringing softly. He was already regaling a small group with a story about Amaka from their university days at Lagos. "Remember that time, Amaka, when Sagan surprised you with those tickets to that Asa concert? You were so excited your face was glowing for days. Everyone thought he was going to propose that night, Omo." He laughed, a booming, theatrical sound that drew more attention from those nearby. The group chuckled, some exchanging glances, but I felt a cold dread settle in my chest. This was not a casual mention. This was a deliberate anecdote, a performance crafted to diminish me. He looked at me then, a flicker of something almost triumphant, almost mocking in his eyes. My jaw clenched, a vein throbbing in my temple. This was too much. This was outright disrespect, plain and simple. Not just to me, but to Amaka, to our relationship in front of a whole gathering of friends and family. I took a deep, shaky breath, the sense of food suddenly turning cloying. "Chidi?" I said, my voice cutting through the chatter, calm but firm, the words surprisingly steady. "Why do you keep bringing up Amaka's ex? Every single time we are together, you find a way to mention Sagan. What exactly is your aim?" The music seemed to dim to a background hum. The laughter died, replaced by uncomfortable murmurs. Chidi's smile faltered, his eyes widening slightly in feigned innocence. "Omo, wouldn't be this. I was just telling the story, Tunde. You are overreacting. It is just a beg." He tried to brush it off, a dismissive wave of his hand, but his tone was defensive, his gaze shifting uncomfortably. Amaka, who had just walked over, hearing the tail end of the exchange, froze, sensing the palpable tension. Her bright smile vanished. "What is going on?" she asked, her voice soft, confused. "Your best friend here," I said, turning to her, my gaze unwavering, "cannot seem to have a conversation without constantly reminding me and everyone else of your past relationship. It is not just rude, Amaka. It is disrespectful. It makes me feel like I am constantly being compared, constantly on trial. The air grew thick with unspoken words. Chidi looked from me to Amaka, then back to me, cornered. His face hardened, a mask of annoyance replacing his earlier feigned casualness. I meant no disrespect. It was just a joke, a simple gist. A beg, no, make 'em a big deal. But the damage was done. It was not a joke to me. It never was. His words had been like tiny, persistent cuts, and now they were bleeding openly, a wound I could no longer ignore. The silence that followed was heavy, heavier than any Lagos traffic. Chidi, seeing Amaka's distressed face, muttered a quick, unconvincing apology, then mumbled something about needing another drink and disappeared into the crowd, swallowed by the pulsating music. Amaka looked at me, her eyes clouded with concern, a silent apology already forming. We left the party shortly after, the vibrant music now a distant, hollow echo against the retreating hum of the generators. Back in my car, parked somewhere quieter in Ikeja, Amaka finally spoke, her voice barely a whisper. Tunde, I am so sorry. I never truly saw it. I always thought you were just sensitive, or that he was just being himself, that playful Chidi. Her voice was small, laced with regret. I took her hand, intertwining our fingers. It was not about being sensitive, babe. It was about respect. For me, for you, for what we have. It was about feeling like an outsider in our own story. We talked for a long time under the glow of the streetlights, the night air gradually cooling. She recounted other instances, moments she would dismiss as harmless banter, but now, with new eyes, she saw how truly out of place and hurtful they were. It was not just Chida's insensitivity, it was her blindness to my feelings, trying to keep the peace at the expense of my comfort. We agreed. Chidi needed to understand his boundaries clearly and unequivocally. We would not cut him off entirely. That was not Amaka's way, and he was her best friend, flawed as he was, but interactions would be managed. If he started with the past, we would shut it down immediately. If it continued, we would create distance. It was not easy, but for the first time, Amaka truly understood the depth of my hurt. The incident, painful as it was, became a catalyst. It forced us to communicate on a deeper level, to acknowledge unspoken discomforts, to stand united against external pressures. My relationship with Amaka emerged stronger, more transparent. It taught me that sometimes protecting your peace means drawing lines, even with people you have known for ages. And that true love is not just about weathering external storms, but also about supporting each other when the subtle internal jabs begin to sting, affirming your place in each other's present and future. We drove home, the late-night Lagos roads calmer, a sense of quiet understanding settling between us like the cool breeze after a long, hot day. Our love, once subtly shadowed, now stood brighter, clearer under the watchful, knowing eye of the Lagos night.